Welcome, future human services professionals, to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Study Block 4. I want to establish a very grounded, authoritative tone with you right from the start, because we are overviewing the absolute structural boundaries that keep our entire shelter ecosystem safe, functioning, and most importantly, sustainable. As a professional, your calm under pressure is what preserves a dignified space for all.
Mastering these structural boundaries, that's exactly what transforms you from just a standard worker into a highly reliable safety warden for our multi-generational communities. We aren't just talking about a set of rules on a page here. We are talking about the daily operational rhythms that ensure the physical and emotional safety of some of our absolute most vulnerable citizens.
To get there, we're going to drill down into three core pillars today: active facility security, health and outbreak mitigation, and administrative continuity. And stick around, because we'll wrap up with a coach's corner to prep you for your upcoming interviews.
All right, let's jump right into Pillar 1, active facility security.
So looking at Chapter 11 of the Toronto Shelter Standards, I need you to remember that routine rounds are not just some passive checklist you tick off to pass the time. No way. Conducting a minimum of 2 rounds per shift is a highly active process that sets the baseline for everything else we do. You're conducting bed and bathroom checks. You're ensuring that emergency exits are completely unobstructed and secure against unwanted entry, and you're monitoring vital safety equipment, like eye wash stations, which must be easily accessible and clearly marked. These rounds guarantee early hazard detection and preserve a dignified, safe space for every single resident.
Now, you are definitely going to encounter situations where confiscation is necessary. And while you absolutely must strictly manage prohibited items and weapons, and you should always seek Toronto Police Service guidance when securing and disposing of weapons, there is a massive distinction to make here. You never, ever confiscate life-saving medications like naloxone of EpiPens or harm reduction equipment and transgender hormones. You have to ensure that safety protocols are followed while the client's dignity and health remain entirely intact. It's a delicate balance, but it's crucial.
Moving right along, let's look at Pillar 2, health and outbreak mitigation.
This is where your calm under pressure becomes your absolute greatest asset. Notice the clear split here on how we operate. On one side, you've got everyday communicable disease control, and on the other, high-alert active outbreak mitigation. Standard control relies on providing alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol in high-contact areas, using routine personal protective equipment, and just promoting frequent hand washing. But when an active outbreak occurs, the protocol shifts heavily. You are now working directly in consultation with Toronto Public Health, implementing strict isolation protocols and addressing the really complex health needs of a multi-generational population.
So what happens when an outbreak actually hits your facility? Well, your steps need to be decisive. You immediately deploy specialized personal protective equipment to all staff, you safely manage those isolation protocols, and you expertly protect our most vulnerable community members. You've got to encourage anyone who appears ill to seek medical treatment and actively facilitate those community referrals. On top of that, maintaining environmental safety, like the safe disposal of sharps in tamper-secured containers, becomes even more critical to prevent cross-contamination.
Okay, let's transition over to Pillar 3, administrative continuity and governance.
Now we are talking about macro-level planning. This is what protects the entire sector from structural failure, and honestly, understanding this is absolutely critical for your exams. An emergency business continuity plan guarantees that even during a catastrophic failure, like, say, a severe weather event, a massive power grid failure, or a pandemic, our values-driven care literally never stops. You have to operate under the strict assumption that assistance from the city might not be available for the first 72 hours. It's on you to identify the resources required to continue providing food, water, and shelter during that critical window. And sweeping standards covering everything from staff codes of conduct to emergency preparedness, they don't just happen by accident. As you can see, they are meticulously phased in, ensuring every shelter, regardless of its specific service model, operates on the exact same high-standard baseline.
Think about it chronologically. A crisis timeline actually starts way before the emergency even hits. It kicks off with proactive, board-approved planning, which has to be reviewed and updated at least every 2 years. Then comes the actual crisis disruption, which is where your 72-hour survival protocols kick into high gear. Finally, you move into recovery and disruption notification, where you must submit formal documentation to the Shelter, Support, and Housing Administration within 24 hours of a service disruption, all while safely restoring normal services.
Look, standard operations are one thing, but a total building evacuation, that's a whole different ballgame. Your emergency plans have to actively accommodate diverse realities. You specifically need to account for residents with mobility issues or disabilities. You've also got to have procedures in place for the safe evacuation of service animals, emotional support animals, and pets. And from a facility standpoint, you must know how to safely shut down building systems, like the HVAC and gas lines, just to prevent any further disaster.
All right, it is time for the Coach's Corner interview readiness.
Welcome to the Coach's Corner. This is the fun part where we take everything we just learned across these 3 pillars and apply it directly to the pressure cooker environment of an oral board interview. Now, this specific scenario throws 2 pillars at you at once. It tests your active facility security knowledge right up against your health and outbreak mitigation knowledge. The interview panel is basically testing your ability to remain grounded, prioritize safety, and maintain complete focus in a chaotic scenario.
So, when they throw this scenario at you, your answer has to boldly highlight your adherence to infection control right out of the gate. First, you don your personal protective equipment immediately because remember, you're in an active outbreak. Second, you assess the item. Is it a weapon or is it a protected, life-saving medication like naloxone? Third, if it is a weapon, you de-escalate the situation and engage the Toronto Police Service for safe disposal. And through every single one of those steps, your unwavering commitment must be to maintaining the client's dignity. Okay, let's look at another classic panel question. This is one that really separates the novices from the true professionals. When they ask you about the business continuity plan, I promise you, they aren't looking for some vague answer about keeping the doors open. They want to hear the specific operational parameters. When you answer this, you must confidently state that this plan is the ultimate safety net for our most vulnerable citizens during a massive disruption. You need to look them in the eye and explain that its purpose is to identify the resources necessary to guarantee essential services, meaning food, water, and shelter, for a full 72 hours, operating under the assumption that external city aid will simply not be available.
I want to end this explainer by just celebrating your journey for a second. You are stepping into a vitally important role within this ecosystem, and your mastery of these standards, from those routine safety rounds all the way up to 72-hour continuity plans, is exactly what makes you a fully qualified, values-driven human services professional. So as you prepare for your exams and step into your facilities, I leave you with this final thought. When the unexpected strikes, are you ready to be the boundary that holds the line?